So what's the one thing that each and every one of us absolutely must do in order to be happy in life, in order to be successful in life? And especially if you are some sort of a leader, leading organizations, or if you're leading countries, you're a politician, or you're leading groups of people in any shape or form, or if you're a coach, a mentor, or somebody who wants to empower other people and who claims that your work is about empowering other people, what is that one thing that you absolutely must do? So the scene that you see behind me today is Melbourne. I'm in Australia today, Melbourne, Australia. And as you can see, the sky is completely cloudless. It's beautiful and blue. And the temperature outside is about 21 degrees. Now, I'm not going to give you a weather report. There's a reason why I'm sharing about the weather here in Melbourne. So just bear with me. So when we arrived here 3 days ago, it was at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the temperatures were below 12 degrees centigrade, which was really, really cold. Actually, it was actually London winter type weather, 12 degrees, and it was really damp and humid. And that was 3 days ago, and it kind of got better gradually. But some of the people told us that 2 or 3 days before we'd landed, it was 33 degrees centigrade at midnight. 33 degrees centigrade at midnight. So during the day, they said the temperatures were like in the 40s. Like, whoa, you know, how do you go from like 40 degrees centigrade to 12 degrees at night, you know, within the space of 3 or 4 days? It's crazy, right? So yeah, I don't want to talk about climate change, blah, blah. That's really not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about, and what this makes me think about, even though having come from London, living in London, we're used to temperatures kind of going up and down, but this is really erratic. And so I want to talk, it makes me think about something that I've been contemplating quite a bit, and that is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali was a sage, a rishi, in around 400 AD India. The dates are not really agreed upon by historians. You know, there's some dispute about his exact timing, but let's say he was there around 400 AD because there seems to be some consensus on that. So what he did was he put together a series of sutras or threads, or aphorisms as they're called in English. He compiled a whole bunch of these from gleaning different yoga texts and yoga studies. So he pulled together the ones that were his, if you like, favorite in his view, that made up what yoga is. And so he has the first aphorism is purely he introduces himself, and now we're going to begin this conversation. The second aphorism is already something that blows my mind. It is absolutely amazing. It kind of gets me right here in the middle of the two eyes, and that is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. What does that mean? Well, yoga is the integration, the coming together of the lower self and the inner self, the inner being, the higher self, if you like, the unconditioned aspect of our own being with the human that you know yourself to be, with the one that's down here. So that's the yoga, that's the integration, the bringing together, the union, etc. Yoga Chitta. Chitta is the mental stuff. So he's referring to the layer of the mind, the mind stuff. Vritti has a number of translations, but my favorite, and you know, very often in yoga translations, you'll see it as being referred to as the fluctuation, but my favorite is whirlpool. So it's like if you take the two words, vritti and chitta vritti, is like the whirlpool of the mind stuff, the thoughts, everything that goes on in the mind, the interpretations and the thoughts and, you know, perceptions and etc. etc. So that is vritti. Vritti, let's say, is the whirlpool. And then Nirodha, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Nirodha, again, multiple ways you could translate that, but my favorite is perhaps the word mastery, because then Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is about gaining mastery. Yoga is possible when yoga of the highest, the person who's down here, the human being with his or her essential nature, unclouded, uncluttered, unconditioned, pure, if you like, pure consciousness, that essential nature that we have, that's there with us all the time, that I call the inner diamond in my books. To become one with that from the place of being human, what we need to do is to gain mastery over the whirlpool of the mind stuff that goes on. And so gaining control and mastery over our thoughts, our emotions, and those lower aspects of our humanity, you might say. Great, so that's like really beautiful, and he gives it to you in, I think there are, I can't remember exactly how many aphorisms there are. I think there might be 94, but he gives it to you instantly in the second aphorism already, second sutra. Wow, wow. He gives it to you straight away. It's not like, wait, I'll, hang around, wait for days and days, listen to me, and then, study this, that, and the other. He gives it to you straight away. The first thing very second thing he does is tell you what it's all about, yoga. Integrating the higher and the lower aspects of our own inner being. And what it's going to take is to gain mastery over our minds, our emotions. So so this is why the weather of Melbourne, and why I'm doing the video here, because it's just so relevant. The weather here changes way more. It fluctuates way more than it does in London. So we have nothing to complain about in London compared to this, or in England. So what's really relevant here is the idea that each of us, and particularly if we claim to be leaders of any kind, we claim to be people who are influencing other people's lives in any kind of way, mentors, coaches, leaders, politicians, anyone, parents even, because of course we influence our children, absolutely. The most important role that we'll ever play is raising children. So how do you do that? How do you have mastery over the mind stuff? I get so many emails from people who read my books and who get in touch and give me their thoughts about the books, and for the most part people love the books. And the question they ask is, but I really want to have more confidence, or I really want to take myself to a whole new level and don't know how to do it. Well, here's the thing. It really comes down to this one thing that each and every person has to do, and that is to do the work on yourself. To do the work on yourself, because that's where you'll make the biggest difference. And then what does it mean to do the work on yourself? Well, let's come back to the chitta vritti, the absolute, up and down the whirlpool of the mind stuff, beyond which most of us never ever get. We never ever get to glimpse the bliss, the joy, the happiness, the absolute delight that lies just beyond our own perceptions and our own thoughts, our limiting thoughts. The ones that are positive, let's leave those, let them be as they are. But I'm talking about the ones which limit us, the ones that don't bring us joy and don't bring us happiness. And if we're not happy, guaranteed we're not going to let other people be happy in some shape or form around us, right? So that's why it's important to gain that mastery. And yoga gives that access. Absolutely, it gives that access. There are also other frameworks. So yoga, you can consider the technology of yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, Ashtanga. I'm not talking about Ashtanga as in on just the mat, the asana side of Ashtanga, but the 8 limbs of yoga, the various things that yoga recommends that we do with our minds, and how we gain control over aspects of our thoughts, the habits that we form, the commitments that we make, etc. So it's a framework, and so that's definitely one access, but there are other accesses. So I've done a lot of different things. You know, some people do NLP, but that's definitely one. In my view, the thing that has had a huge impact on me other than yoga is landmark education. It's a phenomenal framework, you could say, that gives you a whole set of ways of looking at those things which are limiting you in your life, which enable you then to ultimately take responsibility for your reactions, for your life, for how you respond to certain situations. Because when we haven't done the work on ourselves, we're literally at the whim of reaction or being reactive. We get reactivated when somebody says or does something that we don't like, and it occurs as though it's their fault. They have caused you to be upset. It's your fault that I'm unhappy. It's your fault that I'm angry. So you know we've been there, all of us, and we see people around us who do that as well. And so it's really that. So being able to understand what is it that triggers you in situations. I'm not talking about the trivial small things that come and go. I'm talking about those reactions that you have, those feelings that you have, that are perpetual, that are shaping your life, that are clouding how you feel about things on a much deeper level. So the things that, you know, the unresolved things, the things that you haven't necessarily, the things that are in the blind spot you haven't quite gotten hold of. So I'm talking about that. And there are absolutely systems that enable you to get insights and indeed then go further and give you breakthroughs with shifting the patterns of behavior so that you can respond rather than react. So reacting is when you have no control. It's immediate. It's like a reflex. When you react to something, something happens outside, and you react to it in a certain way, which is not empowering to either yourself or to other people around you. So now I'm talking about those types of things. So it's absolutely possible to not only get insights into why you do that, but actually what's beyond that. You know, what could change? What could you alter in your own being? What could absolutely, having had the insight, what could you do with that insight in order that you can then take that behavior and change it, transform it. I love that word, transform. It means you alter, absolutely shift your being to be able to respond rather than react. So you choose how you're going to respond. You choose how, when somebody says something that would have potentially previously made you angry or sad or upset or jealous or whatever, that now becomes a choice as to how they will say exactly the same thing. The other person will behave in exactly the same way, and you will respond rather than react. So why I'm doing this video is because, you know, I come across a lot of coaches and mentors. I come across a good number of business leaders also, and I come across a lot of psychologists in the kind of work that I do. I mean, you know, amongst other people, of course. I mean, in general, you know, I come across all manner of different types of people, but especially people who are there to empower others to succeed. That's the group of people I'm talking about, and of course parents are included in that. And I'm shocked by how often people are claiming to be in these types of positions, who are claiming to do this type of work, who charge a lot of money to do this type of work as well. And in many cases, they haven't actually done the deeper, the more authentic work on their own self. So it's really important that we do that, because to empower other people, we first need to be empowered ourselves. We really do, you know. It's not good enough to claim that you want to empower other people, but then you yourself you're not in control of your own reactions. and you haven't got a mastery in being able to deal with difficult situations. That's the least we can learn to do. So the same goes for politicians, same goes for organizational leaders. It's not enough to just have the skills and skills to be able to close a deal or to be able to bully people into delivering you the results that you demand. Because eventually that's a very, very bankrupt strategy. It's not going to get you further than so far. Eventually that kind of strategy will run its course, and you will need to find a way of inspiring people through your own example. That's true leadership. So that's what I'm inviting you to do, is take a look and see if you're somebody that is constantly doing work on yourself, and if so, awesome. And we all need to continue to do that on an ongoing basis. If you haven't, hey, please do. Please do. Begin. There are such amazing programs out there that will be able to give you the framework to be able to do that, to really go deep, really deep and authentic. And and here's to inspired leadership that truly empowers other people through example, through our own example. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and please do comment. If you have questions, let me know. And yeah, just let me know how you find this video. If you have any other comments, questions about topics that arise as a result of this video, again, just put a note in the comment section. I promise I'll get back to you. Thank you.